That's what I was about to. That chorus is light consumes life, violence followed by silent desolation.
Well, here's our friends that came and saw us. T-Bone
Shockwave
and the Key Rand.
renders defenses obsolete.
And there's our
God so
Blabalicious singer.
He likes to blab.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 32.
32. Man.
The Stage Door Chronicles. Our 1 year
Anniversary show edition.
Anniversary show. So we did 32 shows this year. I think that's pretty good, man.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
That's a body of work.
That is a body of work. You know, I had a lot of fun doing it. Got to talk to a lot of cool people, a lot of cool bands. You know,
Lots.
got to talk a lot about the industry that we love so much. You know, got to talk about games. And
That gets to come back more and more a little bit each week.
Right.
Hopefully it's not just a trend.
Right.
Hopefully it's
This week, today, as everybody knows, is the 6th anniversary of Chris Forsythe's passing. So we're doing another remembrance of Chris. And this will likely be Stage Door Chronicles last show in this format anyway. At least for a while. We might do some special episodes here and there, you know, depending on what's going on.
I could see that happening.
Yeah, you know, but nothing, I don't think on the regular is going to be as much anymore. You know, I think we did what we set out to do as far as, you know, taking up that time when that work wasn't there, you know, when people were still struggling to get out and play music and get out and work gigs and things like that. That was kind of what we set out to do. And I think we achieved that pretty well. Like I said, I'm happy with it. And, you know, I got no regrets for what we've done.
No regrets.
No regrets. Anyway, yeah, so we're gonna celebrate the life once again of Mr. Chris Sizz Forsythe. This time we got some guests on to tell some little stories, remembrance stories, you know. So that's a lot of fun. And we're also, you know, one thing that I personally remember a lot about Chris is that he loved doing cover tunes. You know, he's the one that got me into doing the whole Monsters of Mott thing. And you know, we got to do that every year, do different things. But in Malakai, there was never a shortage of having a cover tune. You know, he had his, we all had our favorites. But I think with this one, I'm going to put in some music from some of the cover tunes that we've been able to do. You know, again, just to kind of pay homage. Oh yeah, you got any cool stories you could think of off the top of your head that you'd be willing to share?
The Vegas story is the biggest, most hilarious thing that I mean, when we went and played that warehouse gig in Vegas, and
yeah.
And you know, Chris is always about helping people out and helping other bands out. So we were supposed to play second to the last before the big local act, right? And at some point during the evening, that act came up to Chris. They were like, "Hey man, would you guys mind switching with us and playing last?" And you know, Chris, man, he's like, "Oh man, sure, dude. If that's what you guys need from me, that's what we'll do." You know? And you know, I just remember, you know, we were all pumped to play that fucking show, right? And then we were like, okay, that's cool, should be fine, right? As soon as that band finished, even as they were tearing down and leaving with their shit, the whole crowd just funneled out, and that fucking space was packed. It was wall to wall fucking people. I don't know, the cap in there was at least 400 for in a warehouse space. It was, you know, and with a stage and, you know, full audio system and shit and lights. And, so yeah, man, it just cleared out, you know, while we were setting up. All of a sudden we look over and there's like 14 motherfuckers hanging out and shit. You know, and you know, we know most of these people and shit.
Just trying to be the nice guy.
Just trying to be the nice guy, man. So we went all the way to Vegas for that.
Shit.
I gave him shit about that forever.
So, you know, as a lot of people know, you know, Chris obviously big into cover tunes. He always enjoyed doing them, always, you know, made, like with Malakai, we always had, you know, we had our go-to with Davidian, which I'll have on here tonight for sure, because that was all of our favorites. But we did a lot of other ones too. But he also got me into the Monsters of Mock thing. And the first thing we ever did was Elvis. And I've been kind of debating on which song to put up, whether it's Blue Suede Shoes or Heartbreak Hotel. But I think it's Heartbreak Hotel. So that's going to come right now.
I'm going to have to warn you. You do too much of that hound dogging, you end up with a permanent cop in the way back corner of the Heartbreak Hotel. Well, I said, well, since my baby left, I found a new place to go. I started the end of Lonely Street, Heartbreak Hotel. I've been so lonely, baby. I've been so lonely. I've been so lonely every time. Oh, though it's always crowded, you still can find some room. A broken hearted lovers to I've been so lonely, baby. I've been so lonely. I've been so lonely, I get tired. Well, the desert tears keep flowing, the desperate dressed in black. I've been so long on lonely street, they never I've been so lonely, baby. They'll be so lonely. They'll be so lonely. Come on, Elvis, sing. So lonely, baby. If you'll leave so lonely, if you'll leave so lonely, you'll die. But I say, you'll leave so lonely, you'll die. Thank you all. That's a favorite of mine.
All right, so this guest is Anthony. You know him, he runs the Riff Rag from Doug
Covering
Project.
local music in Southern Colorado and beyond.
That's right, our sponsor. How could I forget? So he was kind enough to come talk to us for a little bit. Let's check out what he has to say.
A couple of short stories.
Cool. Well, hook us up.
Hook us up.
The real quick one, there was a Halloween probably when I was 25, so 21 years ago or so. I was going to his house to hang out. And I guess he had this big idea to try to run outside when he saw my car pull up and try to scare the shit out of me. I didn't see it happen, but I walked around after I got in my car to his front door and he was just lying there in a heap. Like, oh, fuck. And he had this weird Frankenstein mask on and he was like holding his leg. I was like, what the fuck happened to you, man? I guess he saw my car pull up and he wanted to scare me. So he went to try to run out the screen door, but the door didn't open. He didn't hit the latch. So he just went through, the screen, and you know how the old screen doors have the square aluminum bottom kind of, he just like tripped over that, scraped his legs up all the shit. And it was just lying on the concrete because he was in such a rush to try to scare the crap out of me. I was sad that I didn't get to see the actual fall happen. He was like, "This is your fucking fault. I was trying to scare you."
Oh, that's funny.
That's just a quick little one. You know, there's so many stories. I've been racking my brain the last couple of days, especially today, and I decided to narrow it down to these two. That one, and then this other one. I feel like I may have told on this podcast before, but Chris and Matt Mengel and I took a road trip down to Trinidad to do a radio show interview down there. Guy did local band interviews and stuff. And it was a winter time, so we decided to get a hotel room. And like we always did, we got too crazy, partying, drinking, having a blast. Kept getting phone calls, complaints from the manager. I remember shooting a video. I had the old school giant video camera like this. And Chris was just in his boxer singing along to some Incubus song. I lay my toes into the sand. Yeah, we were just fucking have a blast. And the manager came up knocking on the door. And for some reason, Matt just looked at me and Chris was like, "You guys get into the bed, hurry up." So like, oh shit, all right. So we like jump into the beds, face down, ass up in each of the beds. Meanwhile, I look over and Matt's like stripping down. He stripped down to what we called his manties because he wore those little fucking tiny bikini briefs. I mean, at the time, Matt had the long braided hair and he's super skinny. So there's this freaky looking skinny guy in manties answering the door and he's just like, "Hello?" Meanwhile, me and Chris are just laughing our balls off, face down, ass up in the two beds. And the guy's just like, "Could you guys just keep it down?" And I was like, "We'll try." And then just closed the door. And the guy never messed with us the rest of the night. We were still fucking causing a ruckus.
Oh, fuck.
I mean, fucking manties. I wonder if Matt still wears manties.
I'll have to ask him.
Dude, there's so many things. I mean, being in a band with Chris meant that it was always going to be a party. And that was, I mean, that was the
True story.
debauchery. But on the other side of things, it always meant that you were going to be, for the most part, a professional, active band doing cool shows. I still play music because of that guy alone. I thought I was going to give this up 20 years ago, but like he once told me, I'm a lifer just like he was. We were both driven. We were both always about promoting, about booking shows, about making flyers, about making merch, recording. We were like, he was like the older brother I never had. And I'm the oldest of all my siblings. So he was like, not to mention we farted the same and he outdid me in that. He was like the Jedi master of that. He used to blow my mind how he could be in full conversation and in the background be letting out the longest fucking fart without even breaking speech patterns or anything. And I'd be like, "How'd you do that, man?" He's like, "Oh, what were you talking about?" Oh, that's nothing. he shook it up like it's nothing, but he was a big brother in all the sense. And then I was always excited. I think that's the most fun I had playing in bands when I was in a band with him. So when we weren't in bands, I always try to book our bands together on shows just so we can hang out. I bring him on stage to do cameo vocals. He'd bring me on stage to do cameo vocals. I just wanted to keep that connection alive.
Yeah. Yeah, he was definitely, excuse me, definitely a blast to be in a band with, man. I was, blessed to be in multiple bands with him, but, for such a long period of time, being able to jam with it, it was always a pleasure, and, I mean, of course, you think about this about any bandmate, or I can think about times back when I'd be like, oh, God, just knock it off or whatever, fucking being annoyed about something or other. But when it came down to it, I loved being on stage with Chris. I loved everything about it, and he did the same for me. He kept me playing for a long time. I mean, even, there was a big stint when I wasn't playing in bands, and he had reached out and was like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, why are you not doing anything? And cool, you don't have a band to play with? Let's start something. Let's start a band. Yeah. Let's start a group together. Let's get out there. Let's have fun. This is what we're supposed to be doing. And that, I think that's one of the things I miss the most, that it hit me the hardest when he was gone, was that side of him always being such a big push and such a big cheerleader for people that he loved. You know what I mean? He was always so awesome about that. So great about it. And that and his honesty, whether it be with me or with other bands or with anybody, if there's something he didn't agree with or didn't like, man, he didn't have a problem, telling you, but he also would, he always had a reason behind it.
I never ever cared what anybody in the scene said about whatever bands I was in, except for his opinion.
Yeah.
His opinion always mattered to me. And it's funny because I was like a little kid. I was like the little brother trying to impress the big brother, even though he was only like 4 years older than me, 3 or 4 years. Every time I played a show with a new band, I was always like anxious to go talk to him and see what he had said. And he, like you said, he would break it down like, well, you could use some work on this, or you cuss too much as a front man.
Right.
But it was always constructive criticism, but he'd always had tons of pluses to say about it. And he was like, man, I've watched you growing from this to this, or I can't believe you're fronting your own band now.
Yeah.
I never cared what anybody said, but I always cared what he had to say about whatever project. And that's what I miss now, is like all these different bands I'm doing still. I would just like him to be there, if not be a part of them.
Right.
Now, one more quick little short story. Actually, when this story happened, I was stressed and pissed off as hell. We were in Erased, and we got booked to play some bingo hall show up in Loveland, Colorado. And they had set up all these tables, and then they had an empty floor, and we played our set, which was fine. We did fine. And then he just proceeded to get fucking tanked beyond belief. And I was like, I turned into like babysitter guy. I was the youngest guy in the band, and all of a sudden I'm babysitting the drunken singer. And I was like looking for him in a panic, like, oh shit, where'd he go? And I look way across the bingo hall, and he's just like waving at me. And he's just like, he does this. I'm like, what are you doing, man? He goes and runs and like tries to Superman slide across the tables, like they're set up like this, and he tries to go over like this. He basically made it over one table and then took out like two. And the owner wanted to kick him out. There was a big fucking scene. I had to talk down the owner. I'm like, all right, we'll keep him calm. It's all right. The show's almost done. Just let him hang out. I was like, no. And we did stay at my brother's townhome that night in Loveland, but I made Chris stay in our band van because he was just too shit-faced. And we come out there the next day, and what looks like shit is stuck to the roof of the van, the steering wheel, the radio, all over this gear shift. I'm like, what the fuck? And then we see that he got into a tussle in the middle of the night with this bomb burrito that he bought at 7-Eleven, and just like rolled around it and somehow like splattered bean on the ceiling of the van and the side panels and all over his pants. It looked like he shit himself. But it was just all burrito. I was like, God damn, man, what are you like You were fucking that burrito last time?
He had a problem with bomb burritos, man.
He loved them though, man. I mean, that was his go-to. That was his go-to drunk meal right there. You know, the night was almost over if it was time for a bomb burrito. He's like, that's him winding down.
Yep. Yeah. There was a show we opened up for Chimera up in Denver. And we got done playing and we're hanging out, you know, we're all big Chimera fans. And of course, Chris proceeded to get fucking hammered. And I'm sitting there, I was over kind of by the merch booth. I was watching the show from the side. And Chris is standing maybe 50 feet in front of me, right? And this cop walks up to him and they just kind of start talking back and forth and talking back and forth. And next thing you know, the cop starts like, you know, like Chris is looking at me and the cop's got his arm and he starts putting him in handcuffs, right? And I was like, what the fuck happened, man? What did you do? You know? So I walk over there and Chris is all cuffed up and they're just all, they start laughing. Apparently he knew this dude and was trying to fuck with me. He's like, I knew you were watching, man. I just thought he's like, hey man, take a picture of him cuffing me. So I snapped a picture of this cop cuffing him and shit. Oh shit. I'm like, man, you're crazy, dude. I thought for sure he'd done something silly, man. And,
was that up at the summit? I think I went to that show. I think I drove up there to come check you guys out for that one because I like Chimera a lot too.
Yeah, up at the summit. I think that's the same show where we ended up like locking the van shut. We couldn't get to our gear, and I don't remember if it was John or Todd, one of them, and like breaking the lock with a screwdriver or some shit. It was a big crazy time, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. I say it was a lot of fun. The show itself, I'll never forget this, man. I was so nervous for the show, and I don't normally get very nervous for shows, but this particular one I was pretty nervous for. And we start playing, and I'm like, "Fuck, dude, I don't hear my bass at all, right? Why am I not hearing anything?" And Chris comes over. He's like, "Hey, man, why don't you go turn your shit on?" I turn it on so I can hear it on stage. I can hear it on stage.
You jackass.
I still can't hear it coming out front. And it turns out the fucking sound man had never fucking DI'd me or anything. Didn't hook up a mic or anything like that.
Oh, he gave you shit for that, didn't he?
Either way, I was like, I felt so dumb. Chris was just like, "Hey, dude, why don't you go over there and flip that thing on? And there's supposed to be some lights on or some shit." Damn it, man. All right, Dub, I appreciate you coming on. We'll
Thank you.
Let you get back to what you got to do.
All right. Hey, dude, I'm sorry I messed up the time. I got it.
Oh, no worries, man.
Shut up.
No,
I'm getting
deal,
old.
dude.
Fuck.
You are getting old.
Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, brother.
Take
Later.
care.
Later.
Bye.
So this next song is from the original lineup of Brass Monkey, playing Rhymin and Stealin. I know the video's not great. I know that Elvis song wasn't great either, but it's an old camera, so it is what it is. Anyway, enjoy.
This is a song about having the life of a pirate. That's not good.
Our next guests are a couple guys that have played with Chris in bands before, Matt Mengel and Dave Zahara.
All right, so we're here obviously to remember Sizz. You know, we're coming up on, but it's been 6 years now since he passed. But stories will live on forever, for sure. And I know everybody's got a million stories of Sizz. And, you know, even some of the people I asked, you know, were interested in doing it and then decided not to do it. And I understand that, you know, that people, you know, would maybe want to keep that stuff to themselves. You know, it's just some a self-cherished thing. So I appreciate you guys coming on and doing this.
Word.
So yeah, so let's get into it.
I only have, I mean, there's a ton of stories like you were saying, but many are not ready for prime time. And I don't want to tarnish his image.
You could never tarnish his image to the people that know him already. So.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, the story I was thinking of was way back in '95 when Evil Genius got together. We were all like, you know, early to mid 20s. I want to say early 20s, but we all moved in to the Dale house, which was Dean's dad's house. We all lived in the same house. Todd and Jeremy shared a room. Dean had a room. I had a room, and I think Chris was the fuzz box on the couch. He might have been bouncing around, but yeah. So that was a situation, and it was winter, and Dean, we all decided to go snowboarding, skiing. I'd never been up to a mountain. I don't think Chris had ever been up. We were both going to snowboard, and Dean had been skiing, so he's going to ski. So we decided to make a road trip up to Monarch. And these are the pictures that I have that I hope I can send you. We get up there, and I'm looking at the lifts, and I'm like, "What? How does this work?" You know, like, and Dean's like, "You just stand in the lift line, you know, and the lift will pick you up." And so I'm kind of shitting my pants inside, you know. And Chris is playing cool, and so, you know, we're getting closer and closer, and it's our turn to get on the lift. And the only thing I'm concerned about is sitting down on the lift and pulling down the safety bar and getting
Not dying.
situated.
Not
Yeah,
dying.
getting situated, not dying. Yeah. So here comes the lift. I sit down, grab the safety bar, pull it down. Yes, I'm safe. I look over at Chris, and he's fucking bleeding. Bleeding from his eyebrow, and his glasses are broken. I'm like, what the hell happened to you? Like, you hit me in the fucking head with that bar when you pulled it down. Oh my God, shit. Are you sure that those were Dean's glasses even that he was borrowing for the day?
Oh shit!
Oh, no.
So he had these busted ass glasses on the rest of the day with one arm. And yeah, we carried on the rest of the day. You know, it was our first time snowboarding, Chris and I. And I remember we just tore up the mountain. You know, we were carving it up all over the. No, I'm full of shit. We were falling down every 10 feet. Like, it was constantly falling forward, like, all day. And then you know how pale complected his complexion was, really pale. He was like a lobster for like 3 days after that, like on the verge of sun poisoning. Miserable. Didn't go outside for days after that. But yeah, it was hilarious, man. That was a great memory that I have.
I'm sure he shook it off by the time you got to the hill, right? To the top of the hill.
Yeah. Yeah, in Monarch, you know, it's not that big of a mountain. So yeah, he bounced right back. Yeah,
I hope you can find those pictures.
Right.
for sure, because I know there's pictures of us there's like the whole sequence, like getting ready to go right up there in my truck, getting there, all geared up, thumbs up, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then the next one is like Chris bleeding from the eyebrow. So yeah, I hope I can find that.
That's fantastic. So what about you, Matt?
Well, talk about Chris shaking it off. This story's definitely in that vein. So this goes back to 96, 97. Was I don't remember how far along we were as far as playing shows, but you know, we were kind of like sort of like teetering on glam and anything goes, trying to be artsy. Chris loved to do that stuff, you know, wearing spikes and shiny clothes and whatnot. So before this one show in particular, Chris is like, yeah, I'm gonna do a fire trick. I was like, what? So yeah, I've been practicing. I'm gonna do this fire trick and play with some fire. Okay, cool. Right on. I can't wait to see this, you know? And so he's like, okay, I'm gonna do it right at the beginning so I can just get it out of the way. So he gets this like wet towel and this big pitcher of water set up and his rubber cement, you know, that's how he's gonna do it. It's like, oh boy, right on. So he's like, he's telling Conic when to start the music. He's like, I'm gonna do this fire trick. Okay, here. And so the music starts, and I don't know what I was doing at the time. If the song had started, I think we pretty much had started playing, and I was in my zone, and I start playing, and I was like, sweet. And I look down at my foot, and there's this little ball of fire comes down and lands right on my foot. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then another ball and another ball and another ball. One hits my hand and my guitar, and I look up. I'm like, oh shit. Chris's head is on fire, and he's going,
holy
running
shit.
around, his hair's on fire. I was like, no. So I ran over and I bear hugged his head while he was trying to run for who knows what, cover, something. He's panicking really bad. And he got his hand out, and then he just stepped up and just sang the whole set right out. And he was just like, holy shit, my hand. Oh my God. I don't remember. It's like, I think it was his right hand.
Wow.
And yeah, and there was like flames on my amp. I had like a burnt grill. There was spots on my pedal board.
That could have been so bad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That could have been great white material.
It was terrible, but he got through the show. He sucked it up and manned it out. And after the show, he went to the hospital. He had 3rd-degree burns.
Oh man.
And his hand was trashed for months. And I just remember the next day he was on Percocet all day sleeping. Come on, and it was like just like the skin was just
Bubbly and
huge blisters, and that was nasty.
Oh, that's freaking funny.
I don't think you practiced.
Well, what he said was, when he started the thing, he put his hand in the pitcher, and he said he looked down, the pitcher was gone. Like, there is no pitcher water. It's gone. Somebody moved it. So he started panicking and shaking his rubbery cement hand all over the place.
Basically slinging napalm everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Oh shit,
Think
that's
that one
fun.
through.
Damn, man.
He's got to be one of the only guys I know that would finish that show too before going to the hospital.
That's terrible. That's terrible. You know what's funny? When his head was on fire, I remember running over and grabbing him, and I told him the next day, dude, your head was on fire, and I put your head. He's like,
I remember that
I
conversation.
don't know anything about my head being on fire. And it's like, yeah, dude, you would have lost half your freaking hair if I didn't jump on you.
You know, the only thing I ever saw, not that I've seen many people leave a stage for anything, but the only thing I ever did see Chris leave the stage for, we were playing a show at Black Sheep. There wasn't a lot of people there. And somebody kept coming, one of the bouncers kept coming up to the stage and trying to get his attention. And he's like waving him off, like, dude, we're playing a show, you know? And I remember like this little tiff had happened in the mosh pit, which is what I thought this incident was about when it happened. But what it was, finally the guy, I think it was John Rose, actually got up onto the stage and pulled Chris aside and whispered something in his ear. So Chris left out of that upstage left door in the Black Sheep, right? And he comes back in a couple minutes later and he goes to Todd, and we still had like maybe 1 or 2 songs left, and he's like, Todd, you got to sing the rest of the set. And he leaves, and we're like, what the hell's going on, you know? And like I said, I thought it had something to do with whatever had happened in the pit there. Well, what it had turned out to be, after the show, we all went outside and we're like, you know, there's all these people around, they're crying and everything. Like, what the fuck is going on? And we go over, and that was the night that Chris's dad had passed. And so we were on stage when he found out. And but he still, even in that moment, he had, I don't know if you want to call it wherewithal or what it was, you know, his incessant "the show must go on" attitude that he had. He came back in and was adamant that we finish the show, you know, and even though that he knew he couldn't be there to do it. And, you know, that's something I'll never forget from him, you know. And that's the one thing I actually saw, you know. I think it would take any grown man off a stage. You get some kind of news like that, you know what I mean? But yeah, that was a crazy night too. Thank you guys so much for sharing stories. If you have any more, by all means.
It's hard to pick and choose through all the debauchery from the mind.
Some of it's just not. Some of it's just not safe for work or whatever.
Right. Plenty of nights sleeping on pool tables and ridiculous shit, but you know.
I remember one time he was so into playing a show that he fell over sideways and jacked his tooth. I mean, he was just like getting into it and just flipped and I mean, there's like a million of those types of things. Not really stories though.
Right.
Shit that happened.
Incidences.
Yeah.
Schisms.
This one time.
Schisms.
Yeah.
This next song is something that we did. Chris liked to put together these multi-style concerts together, and he started doing the collisions of sound. This is the one that we did at the first collision of sound. Malakai we had, and I can't remember the rapper's name that came up with it. Chris says it in the video, but this is when we do Bring the Noise. Check it out.
Make some noise! God damn, that shit was dope. This is a little song that was made popular by a couple bands called Anthrax and Public Enemy. So true to this day, I need you guys to bring the noise. Let's go. Bring the noise! Yeah, boy! Freeze! How long can you go? Yeah, bro! Whatever I know, once again, that is the incredible. Well, animal, the animal. Together the number one. I'm all set. And I got no. Can't tell, never really never had a gun. But it's a West and determined expert. Now he got me in a cell. The fucking thing said, was ever like me. Well, click to the road and I think you wanna listen to. What you wanna do? What you wanna do?
our final guest, who needs really no introduction and who was super kind enough to come out here and join us for this, is Sizz's very own brother, Casey Forsythe, affectionately known as Dawger. He came, we had a great conversation with him. Super awesome talking to him. But he shared some funny stuff with us, so let's check that out.
But I guess I won't knock it. If I was a chick, I'd be a slut for days. I'd probably be doing it too, like not working and just selling pictures of my butthole and like I'd probably be that chick. So
Casey, you could do that now, dude.
Probably
I'll buy that for $1.
Yeah, right. I can imagine the creepers that would come out of the woodwork. Shit.
People would stop coming up to you going, "Are you Chris Forsythe's little brother?" No. They'd be like, "I think I've seen your butthole, bro.
I've seen your brown eye, bro. I know it. I paid to see your brown eye." Dude, as you guys know, that's what was hilarious too. You remember when, like, you guys remember when the movie Waiting came out?
He would, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Brian, do you remember Chris would go around and do the bat wing and the brain and all that shit and the fruit basket? Dude, they
fucking homos.
Dude, that was when 7 Year Coma was touring, and they did a mini tour down in New Mexico for 3 days in Gallup and it was Gallup and Shiprock and what's the other one? It wasn't Albuquerque, but yeah, it was down there doing like a 3-day tour, 5-day tour, something like that. But my other brother Jeff, he had a little minivan at that point, and me and Jeff went on that tour with him. And yeah, that was right after Waiting It came out. So every single day that tour, like we'd go eat at like Whataburger, right? And Chris would like make sure to go and be the first one back in the van. And when we would, and everybody would walk back to the van, we'd be like, "Why is Chris already in the van?" And we'd open up the door, and Chris is, "God, it's the brain." It's the brain. Or he's got his dick between his legs. "It's the fruit basket. It's the fruit basket. I got you, fuckers." Like he did that about every stop on that damn tour.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh
Good
man.
times. Good times.
Shit's making me cry.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun, man. That was a good little fun little.
He was
story.
a big fan of that part of that movie. He was a big fan.
Yeah. Yep. What was the one? The bat. He would do the bat wing.
The bat wing.
Bat wing. He'd do all that crap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Crazy bastard.
Crazy bastard. Crazy.
That's
bastard.
crazy. You know, there's this time when we were down here in Mississippi. He and I found this club over in Gulfport, Mississippi. And it was a lot like the Black Sheep kind of feel to it, right? Pretty cool little place. Anyway, we were hanging out there and you know, doing some pretty heavy drinking. And he was talking to the bartender, just talking with her, right? He wasn't like trying to mac on her or nothing like that. He was just talking to her. You know, I was talking to people around the bar or whatever. Next thing I know, I don't know what the fuck happened. But Chris is sitting there at the bar, and I'm sitting like around the corner of the bar over here. And he just said some shit like, well, fuck you anyway, fucking right. And I was all, that was weird. I mean, he's kind of laughing, you know. And this big old dude comes out from the back, and it's like the bartender's boyfriend is like the manager of the place and shit. And he's this big old motherfucker. He starts yelling at Chris and you know, "You need to get the fuck out of here." He's like, fuck you too. Fucking, he's all, "Fucking pussy." And I was like, oh shit, here we go. And I'm kind of laughing, right? Well, here we are in a strange town. We don't fucking know anybody. And next thing I know, the entire bar, all these dudes like circle around me and Chris, right? And fucking, I was like, oh fuck, dude. So I grab Chris and I pull him out the door and I get him over to the truck. And he was mad at me for like 2 days, man. He was so mad that he's like, "You didn't have my fucking back." I'm like, "I didn't have your back, dude. I just fucking pulled your ass out of there from getting your ass stomped." And But he was so mad at me for a few days about that, man. He might have still been mad at the end. I don't know. And I'm like, man, I didn't see it that way. I didn't see it as not having your back. I saw it as absolutely having your back.
Saving your life.
But he wanted us to fight, man. That's what he was like, let's do it. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I guess I wasn't drunk enough to fucking throw my ass into that with him. Fucking.
And as you know, I'm sure I can already picture it now. I pictured it while you were talking about it. And I'm sure that, yeah, there was a lot of heavy drinking involved. Because as you know, Brian, he really wasn't like a fighting type.
Not at all. Not at all.
That was when me and him would go out and we would get ham boned. And I'm talking just shit house. I would be the one that would usually get into shit. And Chris used to hate it, man. He would get so pissed and be like, damn it, Dawger, I can't take you anywhere. Always got to be starting shit and getting in shit. And I don't think I ever saw him like get into it with anybody.
Yeah.
Me and you got into it a lot. Like that was one of the stories that I was thinking about, Brian, was with Malakai was Crimson and Concrete. And did he tell you what Crimson and Concrete is about?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was me and him going up to see Reggie in the Full Effect. And that was mine and Chris's band. That like that's one thing that I really do miss about Chris was he would always turn me on to just music, you know, like, dude, this band came through the Sheep, or check this out on the internet, you need to check them out. And he knew what kind of music I liked. He knows that I was a thrash kid and he loved that I love thrash. But me and Chris, like, that was what our guilty pleasure was like cheesy 80s music, like synth shit, and or keyboards and just like silly music. And Reggie in the Full Effect was just that. It was just fucking poppy, just yeah, it was a good shit. So that was mine and Chris's thing. And we're like, when we found out that Reggie and the Full Effect were touring, which is rare, they were coming up to the marquee, and me and Chris were all, yeah, dude, we're going. We did. And you know how that is. Like, that was a band that was like, we were looking forward to so much that, of course, like you guys know, Brian, like we made it into we better stop and get a bottle and a 30 rack and we better pregame hard before we even get up there. And we did, and we got hammered. And we remember, and we don't even really remember this until after the fact, we ran into Dan Harvey and somebody else up there, and we didn't even like remember talking to him. And then a week later, Dan Harvey is like, hey man, you guys were tore up at that show. I'm surprised you guys made it back. And like, we're like, we saw you up there? You guys were up there? That's how much we've been partying. But for some reason, me and Chris on the way back from that show just got into it for some reason. I don't even know why. And we stopped off in Monument, which Chris would always do coming back from Denver shows, to get a cheap burrito at like 7-Eleven. You know this probably, Brian.
Yeah. The bomb.
He would love that. He would just love to stop and get like the bomb burrito. Remember?
Yeah.
Like the freaking 2-foot bomb burrito that would just absolutely gut rot you. Well, for some reason, we got into it at the gas station, and I was pissed enough, like it was legit, where I was like, dude, when we get home, we're throwing down. And he's like, if you really want to do that, it's on you. And the whole way back from Monument to Springs, we didn't say anything.
Get ready.
Yeah, literally, there was not a word said. And as soon as we pulled up in the driveway, like you could feel the tension, and it was just thick. And as soon as we got out of that vehicle, we threw down on the front porch. And it's actually the same front porch that he actually passed away on. But we threw down, and I had on a ring, the ring that my brother got us all in Afghanistan, that has a big old tiger eye on it with our dad's birthday and death year on it. And I cracked Chris in the ear with it and ruptured his eardrum, and it wasn't gushing out, but blood was definitely pouring out of his ear and busted his nose. He busted me open. And the next day, oh my God, our mom was pissed.
I bet.
And she goes out there, and it was in that porch. It was like that concrete that's kind of like a textured concrete, like a popcorn concrete. And she goes, you guys are going out there. There's blood all over out there. You guys are going out there and cleaning that crap up. So me and Chris had to go out there and scrub that with soap and water and it still didn't all come up, and we didn't say a word to each other the whole time that happened. We were still mad at each other, and then he wrote Crimson and Concrete about it, and yeah, and like now when I listen to it and I listen to them lyrics and crap, I'm like, it's almost embarrassing, you know, like you're like, damn. But in the same sense, I guess that's what brothers do, and yeah, we threw down quite a bit. That was actually a pretty brutal one.
Yeah, he did tell me that story. He didn't tell me the whole thing. He didn't tell me about going up to Denver and all that. The only story that we got was just about you two brawling there on the porch and what it looked like the next day. And
yeah, yep, Crimson and Concrete. That's what that's about. And yeah, there was quite a bit of blood. And like I stated, it was when we went out there, they were dried up and stained, and hot water and soap wasn't taking care of it. We could probably still go out there to that porch now, and there's probably little faint stains of it probably still out there. It was quite a bit. It was pretty gnarly.
Looking like a crime scene and shit.
Yep, it was probably the gnarliest fight that me and him personally had, and we had probably about 3 or 4 of them. That's one. Oh man, that's a good one right there too, Brian. Was one night we were at the Black Sheep, and I'm sure he told you this story. Do you remember when he had that CD? He had a lot of CD books and you're supposed to put CDs in to this high, and Chris would fill them up to this high where you couldn't zip them up. And I was an idiot that night, and it was like we got into it at the Black Sheep, and we were walking across the street. And you remember that island on Platte, that little island in the middle? I hit him in the back of his head. I gave him a cheap shot in the back of his head, and it didn't really do anything to him. And he had that CD book. He turned around, threw it as hard as he could at my chest. I caught it, and it was a lot of force, and it put me down on the ground. And he just jumped on top of me and just blah, 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 blah. And that's one, yeah. The Crimson and Concrete one was pretty good. That was about half and half. We both got our shots in. But that one in the middle of the island in Platte, dude, he put the beat down on me, dude. He put the beat down bad. Yeah. But yeah, we found a lot of his notebooks and stuff that he would write lyrics for and things like that. And I still have them in the basement. And yeah, man, he would jot down everything, man. Some of those notebooks, they didn't even turn into fruition of like songs, but he would just jot, and he would always do that. If you remember, Brian, he would like, whenever you think of something, he jot it down. He's like, oh, this could be in the song. And man, he was an excellent songwriter. He was a damn good songwriter, man.
Yeah.
And whenever I'd go through them books, like, yeah, some of them, he knew how to write, and he knew how to put his feelings and emotions into lyrics. So yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's crazy. During our last album, you know, there's a lot of things that anybody could look back on, but I myself look back on, it's like, wow, that's some kind of weird premonition or something. I don't know if I necessarily believe that or not, but like some of the songs, some of the lyrics he was doing in those songs in the last record. And not only that, but the thing that gets me the most is he recorded his parts and the whole process. I wouldn't really say it slowed down, but he was really pushing to get that album done. Like we got to a point, he's like, come on, we got to get it done. And he never really did that before. He was, you know, he would always make sure that we'd see the project through, but it's like he was really pushing for it to get done so we could get it and get it put out. And I remember thinking at the time, like, wow, that's kind of strange that he's pushing us so hard, but cool. I mean, you know, maybe we need it. Maybe he sees us as kind of being lazy and not really putting our all into it, kind of thing. And then, you know, he finished his parts, and, you know, I don't know, it wasn't very long after that he passed, you know, and you know, I know Todd and Bill Douglas went back in and finished off the mixing. I'm sure John was there as well. They kind of finished off the mixing and yeah, I don't know. It was, to me, that was the most, I don't know if premonitionic's a word, but that was the biggest thing that I saw. I was like, wow, why was he pushing us so hard? What did he know that we didn't know, that we had to get this record out so fast, you know, or get it done, make sure that we got it done. You know, he was especially wanted to make sure that his parts were done. And every time I think about that, I'm like, what a trip, you know. And then I listened to that record, and there's so many lyrics on there that you know, as I'm sure you know, but you know, it's metal. You're always gonna, you know, metal guys are always gonna sing about dark stuff and whatever the case is. But just some of the words that he used and you know, the familiar pounding in my chest. You know,
that's what I was waiting for you to finish, but whenever I listen to Die Violent, it's familiar pounding in my chest.
It gets me every time, man. It's crazy.
You too. That whole song he talks about a lot of stuff like that, you know, and it's like, I'm like you, it's like, what did he know that we didn't know, you know? And he wouldn't really tell us, like he would, like even me, like when I lived with him, he never really told me, like he would tell me, like, I don't know, he would never tell me like he felt bad or anything. Yeah, so my story is that it's the first Sizzle Fest, and it was at the Blue House, the compound. And as we all know, when it was Chris's birthday, it wasn't a one-day thing. Chris wanted it to be a celebration for at least the weekend, and he would usually try and do it for the whole week, you know, like, and he would try and seriously, like, we're just gonna have a good time the whole week. We're gonna party the whole week and just have a good time. So we had the perfect spot, that place that we lived off of Electronic Drive. We called it the compound. And it was a blue house, a detached garage, big old yard, nobody around. And it was just in the middle of an industrial area. It was like a warehouse here, a factory here, nothing else around. Police station like 2 miles back behind us, nothing around, just a house in the middle of this industrial place. We called it the compound. And Chris goes, we're having a bash this year. We're gonna have a party, and we're gonna call it Sizzle Fest. And I was like, sweet, dude, let's do it. And I was like, what's it gonna be? He's like, dude, we're doing bands. We're gonna do some bands. We're gonna barbecue. We're gonna do a bonfire. We're gonna do everything. It's just gonna be a celebration of my birthday. I go, sweet, dude. Everybody was in on it. And John Salt's got Rooster and the Box Sleeves to come play. And that was when my brother Jeff was still stationed here in Colorado Springs. So my nieces and nephews were here. And that's where the story kind of leads into, is Chris goes, dude, I want to have like an old school, like weenie roast. Like I want to do a hot dog fest for the kids. Because all the kids at this time, like Jet was that's my brother Jeff's kid. Jet was about 6. Kaylee was probably about 8. Allie was probably about 8. And John Saltz's kids, they were young too. They were there. His son was dressed like Batman, and his daughter was dressed like, I think, Princess Leia from Star Wars. And so yeah, it was an all-day thing. We started at like 10 in the morning. Everybody was there. All of our homies, all the friends that we all mutually know, everybody was there. But Chris just wanted to have a good time, and he was in a good mood that day, having a good time celebrating his birthday. And this is where it gets funny, was we're doing the weenie roast, right? And Chris has this one hot dog, and he's not even like, we had those professional pokers that are metal pokers that you put hot dogs on and roast them. One of them like dropped into the fire first. So that's how it started. It dropped into the fire first and got ash all over it. And Chris picks it up. Oh, it's still good. And everybody's like, no, the kids are like, no, it hit the ground. And he didn't even use one of the professional pokers. He grabbed it like a stick and put a stick from a tree through it. And he goes, oh no, it's still good. And he just roasted the hell out of that thing, where it was completely black. It hit the ground a couple more times. And like, you wouldn't give it to somebody's dog, like anything in the world. This thing I'm talking was black, charred, hit the ground, ashy. And so Chris, this is where it's hilarious, in my opinion, was Chris, to make all the kids happy, he grabs that weenie, and he called it Hell Wiener. And he called it Hell Wiener. And he was going around to everybody at the party and was trying to get them to eat it. And of course, everybody's like, I'm not eating that thing. Are you crazy? And all of my nieces and nephews are following Chris around the whole time, like, thinking that somebody's going to do it, and they're just waiting for it to have the biggest laugh in the world. And everybody, Chris put it in his pocket. He had on like a Dickie work shirt that day, and so he's just cruising around with a drink in his hand, a beer, whatever, and the hell wiener just popping out of his shirt, blacker than black, just nasty. And everybody's going up to, like, what's in your shirt? What it's hell wiener. You guys, come on, you want to bite it? You want to eat it? And all my nieces and nephews are like, oh yeah, dude, I can't wait to see this. Nobody did it, right? And nobody would. And this is where Chris and this we all know this is the Chris that we love. At the end of the night, my nieces and nephews are like heartbroken. They just wanted to see somebody bite into the hell wiener, just so that they could laugh, see the nasty black hot dog, and nobody would do it. And so finally, Chris, at the end of the night, he's even like me, he's like, Dawger, Jeff, everybody, come check this out. And he gets all the kids nearby, and the kids are like, what's up? And he's like, well, nobody wanted hell wiener. Nobody wanted to bite it. And the kids are heartbroken, you know. we didn't think so. What are you going to do with it, Uncle Chris? You're just going to throw it in the trash? And I think we all know what happened. Chris pulled out hell wiener, and Chris ate hell wiener just to see those kids laugh, man. And all those kids were cracking up. They thought that was just the funniest damn thing in the world, was that Chris ate hell wiener. And yeah, that was the type of dude that Chris was, as we know. You know? He did it for the life of the party, and those kids still remember it to the day, you know. So
yep. That's awesome.
That was Chris. Yeah, that's one thing that I missed too, is, as you know, like when you guys would play, whenever Machine Head Davidian would come up, you know, man, half the time, depending, he's like, he'd be like, Dawger or Jeff or whoever, who wants to get up here and sing Davidian, jump up there and sing some Davidian with him. So that was like his one way of like allowing us to be a rock star with him, you know, for a minute. And it was cool because I'm not a musician, you know, so that was his one way of like letting me feel what it was like to be on stage and see the crowd and have a good time. And yeah, I love that. Same thing, just kind of like with that story I was telling you, man. Like, he just wanted you to have fun and just whatever he was doing, man. Like, he would
make memories.
Yeah, exactly. He was a memory maker. Yep. That's what I was telling Brian the other day, man. Like, it sucks that he's gone, but never take away the memories. That's so cliche, but never take the memories away. And I've got so many of them. That's why when Brian was like, think of a cool story, man, to tell on my podcast. And I was all week, man, I've been like, man,
which one?
Yeah, thinking of story after story after story. And I'm like, half of them I hadn't even remembered till I was thinking about him again. And I'm like, damn, that dude just had a good life. He was a real one. And that's why, to the day, that's why we're doing this 6 years later, and why people still come up, because that dude, he was a memory maker, and everybody that knew him had a good time.
Yeah. This next song, of course, was certainly Chris's favorite. I think I could probably say everybody at Malakai agreed that it was our favorites to play as well. But here's the Machine Head cover of Davidian.
Couple of those headballs, a few of you motherfuckers know this shit.
think about when I was asking people for stories and stuff, I think about all the times that we had together, and I can think of, I got a million stories with Chris, and I think about all the people that had spent so much more time with him and all that. And like I said, some of the people I talked to, I know it's just more of a personal thing for them where they just kind of hold it close to their heart. And I fully respect that, but there's one story that I'm sure that you heard that I'd like to share my side of the story. Because this is another one of those where I'd talk to people and I'd get shit talked to me because of the way Chris told the story. And I want to tell how I remember the story. There was one time, this is when we were down in New Orleans. And we went into the French Quarter. We used to go there pretty often. We go there and drink, and man, it's crazy. You go to some places, the happy hours are, you go and maybe you'll find a 2-for-1 or something. This place down here, and it'd be 4-for-1, 5-for-1, 6-for-1, just to get people in the place, So needless to say, we get hammered quite often. Anyway, we were over in the French Quarter one time, and this group of guys walks up to us, and I find this funnier now because the scam that they pulled on is actually apparently like one of the oldest scams that are out there. So it makes it even funnier to me that it happened the way that it did. So these guys walked up to us, and I think me and Chris both were sporting Chucks that day, right? And we're walking down the street, and they're like, "Hey man, I bet you guys $20 I could tell you where you got your shoes at." And I was like, "No man, I'm not betting you $20 for nothing." And I mean, there was a lot of these guys too, and they kind of had a little semicircle bias, they're like, "Come on, man, $20. I'll tell you where you got your shoes at." And I'm like, "No." And Chris was like, "No, man, fuck that. We're not doing this shit, right?" And they keep pounding and pounding and pounding. So finally, Chris is like, "All right, dude, let's just do it. They can't tell us where we got our shoes, fucking." So we go, and they're like, "You got your shoes on Bourbon Street, and they said the date or whatever it was, that was where you got them at, is you got them right now, kind of thing. And we're like, that was dumb, and so the guys came up to us, and they're like, "You motherfuckers better feel lucky that I ain't about to cut your nuts off. Now give me my $20. Fucking, we're like, "Oh shit!" I guess just pulled out the money and gave it to them. And they went about their way, we went about our way. And I remember getting back to Colorado and hearing that story come back to me. And Chris had told that story to somebody, and all of a sudden it was all me. It was all me that got scammed. It was all me that fucking. I was like, wait a minute, that is not how that happened at all, man. Chris was right there on my hip when it happened, man. We both got had, and we didn't have a choice. It wouldn't have mattered, man. Those guys were going to take that money one way or the other. They were like, they're that's just the way it was, I'm sure we stuck out like a sore thumb, two long-haired dudes walking through the French Quarter in the middle of the day, fucking drunk as hell. me and Chris came down here to Mississippi and New Orleans with me back in '99. We had all these plans to do some shit. Ended up not working out, but what we had done is we would work. My stepdad owned a tree farm, so we would go out and work on this tree farm, right? And it was right on their property, so we would just stay in that house when we first got out here. Well, there's a pier out in the backyard, so we go out on the pier every night. Sometimes we get in a boat and go cruise around the bayou. Other times we just fish off the pier or whatever. Well, Carl, my stepdad, always told us about this three-legged alligator named Tripod, and we thought he was full of shit. We're like, whatever, man, there ain't no three-legged alligator around here. Well, eventually we saw Tripod, we're like, holy shit, it's a real thing, man. And we're like, all right, well, he ain't bothering us, whatever. Well, one night we were out fishing. I'm sure we're fishing for catfish. So we're out there throwing our thing. Well, Tripod kept coming over and like snipping at our bobbers, right? And so finally I was like, fuck this, man. He keeps fucking with our lines. Let's put a little hook on the bobber and scratch up his mouth. He'll leave, it'll get him to leave. So we throw it back out there. Fucking sure enough, Tripod comes over and puts his mouth on that bobber, yank on it as hard as you can. It stuck him. It caught his ass. Fucking, so next we're fighting an alligator. Chris and I both were fighting this alligator for like the next 45 minutes. the thing would come up and then just take off with the line. If I could go up, I don't even know how far he was going off. We'd fucking reel him back in, take off again. So finally we get him, and we get him up on the dock. And now he can't close his mouth because the bobber's in his mouth, right? But he's sitting there on the dock, and he's, you know, fucking yanking around, and me and Chris are like, what the fuck are we supposed to do? So I told Chris, I said, go up there and get my stepdad. Tell him to call the gaming warden, right? And they'll come out here and get him. Carl, my stepdad, comes out. He's like, oh, we're not calling the damn gaming warden, right? So he goes and gets a PVC pipe, puts a rope through it, like a loop of a rope through it, and makes a little, I don't know what you call it. He puts the rope around the snout of the gator. He pulls the rope to kind of, you know, hold his mouth shut. But keep in mind that bobber is still in his mouth. So he's like, all right, now why don't you guys get down there and get that hook out of the gator's mouth? And we're like, are you fucking crazy? I'm not getting down there. Fucking. And he's like, we got to get it out of his mouth so we can release him. Well, we don't got to do shit. Just let him go with the hook. I don't care. Anyway, he talks us into it. First, Chris has the pliers in his hands, and he's going to do it. And he's looking at that thing. I'm looking at him. He's like, I'm not getting anywhere near that fucking thing. So he gives it to me. He's like, all right, dude, Chris, I'm going to tell you what, I'll be right here in case this little loop that your stepdad has him held by doesn't hold. You know, I'll push on his mouth or whatever. I was like, all right, fine. So I start bending down, and what does Chris do? He backs up and starts taking pictures. Taking pictures. So I'm thinking, this thing's going to kill me. I'm looking at it. This gator's looking at me in the eyes like, I'm going to remember your ass. I will kill you someday. And I got that fucking thing out of his mouth, and they released him back into the water. And Chris and I were pissed that he put him back into the bayou. We're like, what the fuck? Why would you do that? You know? And but I'm sure there's plenty of gators over there. But anyway, Carl was sitting there laughing at us so much. He's like, man, when you two were bent over that gator, all I would have had to do was say boo, and both you city boys would have ended up in the goddamn bayou. So both of us were like, you're not wrong. We would have been done. Oh shit, that was funny. So he ended up getting a gator tattoo, and then that's where I got that's my gator tattoo, and that's my memorial to Chris is the gator. I got that from Goat as my memorial to Chris, but he got one too, and that's our little story of the gator that we caught. I got pictures of it somewhere.
Yeah, we got a photo of it too, Brian, and Christian, the one that Chris got tattooed on his arm.
Mhm.
It's tripod. It's got the nub.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, Chris got the tripod. He got the nub. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite memories, man.
You do.
That's a fucking great story too.
He loved that time that you guys were down there in New Orleans, Brian. He loved it. He absolutely loved it.
Yeah, this is kind of a Dumb and Dumber story, man. We got really drunk again over in the French Quarter, and we took the streetcar home. And we got out, and we're walking down Washington Avenue to get to the house in New Orleans. I mean, and we're housed, man. We were just housed walking down the street, and we get close to the house. Chris goes, hey, man, you need to take a picture of me in front of the house so I can send it back to everybody, show them what kind of house we're in. I was like, all right, dude, cool. If I can go stand over there. And we're like in the middle of the street, right? We're in the middle of the fucking street. And Chris is standing there. Chris looks back at the house, and he's pointing at the house like this, and he's smiling. And I fucking snapped the picture. You know, back then it's film, right? We don't know what's on the film. Well, you know, it's not on a phone or whatever. So about a week later, we get the shit developed, and it comes back, and neither one of us saw this happen, me included. But Chris is standing in the middle of the street, and he's pointed like this. And right when he snapped the picture, a UPS truck drove by. And so it's him pointing at a UPS truck, and the house is behind the UPS. I mean, it's like it was like we set it up to be that way. I was like, oh my God, how did we not fucking see that shit? Oh man. I got that picture somewhere. I might have to post that one up. Now it cracks me up every time I see it. Neither one of us had any idea that thing went roaring by.
Drunk sons of bitches.
Oh shit.
All right, man. Well, Casey, again, thanks for coming on and sharing your thoughts and some stories. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. It's been my honor.
Good to see you, homeboy.
It is. It's great to see you.
This was great. This was great. It was good to see both of you guys BS a little bit, reminisce, and like I was telling Brian, I appreciate you guys keeping Chris's honor alive, keeping his memory alive, and always.
Always, man. And yeah, I mean, everybody keeps that man's memory alive. He's, like you said, he had that good spirit. This last song we're gonna do is "You Gotta Fight." It's the last song that Sizz ever performed on stage. Did it with Brass Monkey. We had a lot of fun doing it. But with that, I want to thank everybody that supported us throughout this time. It's been a blast. We've met a lot of cool people. We've talked to a lot of cool friends.
Yes.
You know, haven't got to talk to in a long time.
Caught up with everybody.
Yeah.
Almost.
It's been a fun year. But it's been a fun year. 32 episodes under our belt. I call it a win. You know, you'll probably see us pop up here and there with Stage Door. You might see us pop up with something, just doing something different, but under the same name. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But thank you, everybody that's checked it out. Anybody that supported us, man. It's been a lot of fun. And we sure appreciate everything.
Yeah. Peace.
Peace.
Rest in peace, MCA.